Hello and welcome to episode 111 of the Graceful Tangle podcast. I'm Amy Kate. Thank you so much for joining me today. As always, I'm super excited to be back with you guys for another episode this week. I don't have a ton to share because life is just really busy right now. But I do have a few really exciting projects that I have finished. I've made progress, lots of progress on one in particular. It's definitely my focus right now. And then I have a few designs that I'm working on as well. So I'm super excited to have you here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And then don't forget to check out all of the links in the description box below. I have links to the show notes for this episode, some specific things that I'm going to be talking about today, and then also social media platforms and pattern shops and Facebook groups. So much information down there, always a really good place to check out, so definitely do that if you haven't. Today is Sunday, June 26th, and it is a beautiful day. It is cloudier than usual. Well, I shouldn't say than usual. It's cloudy. It has not been cloudy lately. It has been extremely hot and sunny the past few weeks. But anyways, it is cloudy today, which means for slightly cooler temperatures, which is much appreciated. It is still in the 90s. According to my computer, it is 87 degrees. I think it's probably a little bit hotter than that outside, but regardless, it is slightly cooler than it has been, which is awesome because it's been extremely hot. But yeah, it's cloudier, which means for a few more shadows in this area, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's okay. We are just gonna roll with it. Okay, so like I mentioned, I do have quite a few projects to talk about today, and the first is a really big, really amazing finished object that I am so pumped about. Okay, so the only FO that I have to share this week is a really big one, and it is my Scrappy Blanket that I have been working on for such a long time now. Like, honestly, I mean, Scrappy Blankets are something that I, don't really put a time constraint on. I just kind of work on them here and there. Obviously, in the past I've done like a Scrappy Sunday and things like that. Scrappy Sunday, if you aren't familiar with it, I have quite a few videos on my channel here on YouTube where I have shown the projects that I work on Scrappy Sundays. Honestly, I don't typically work on those just on Sundays right now, but in the past I've taken some Sundays to work on Scrappy projects to kind of reset the palette per se. It was started by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady, and it's such a fun challenge. But yeah, so that's why I originally started this project. However, in the past few weeks I wanted to get it done this summer, and so I definitely worked on it more than just on Sundays. My overall goal was to spend like 20 to 30 minutes a day working on it until it was complete. I didn't really do that. I kind of set that goal like right before we went on a trip, so obviously I didn't take this project, so it kind of like immediately got a little bit off kilter, and then yeah, I was just never like super duper consistent with this project, but nonetheless it got done, and I love it so much. I applied a single crochet border this week. That was like the biggest thing that I did. I finished up a few rounds or rows. It is worked flat. Like, I have no idea where I was last week, but this is the top of the blanket. So I think, I don't know, last week I was probably about here-ish, and so I added all of this, which is like the last few inches, and then I added a single crochet border, which quite honestly took forever. There's a lot of stitches around this border, and I use single crochet, which I love, and I would definitely do again. It would still be my first choice, but it does take longer. And then I used Knit Picks Mighty Stitch yarn, which I really like that yarn, but it's not like my all-time favorite. It tends to split a little bit easier, and it's just not like, that was a computer notification, my apologies. Anyway, it just isn't my all-time favorite yarn. So because of that, the border was a little bit slow going, but I got it done nonetheless, and I just love how this blanket turned out. It's full of so many memories from all of the projects that I worked on. Yeah, so many. So fun to look back and remember all of those projects and yarns and kind of, like what life was like, I guess, in the time I was working on that project. yeah, really, really special little blanket. And it's not little. I mean, it's not like massive. It is a really good size. I really like the size. It's about 50 by 60 inches. Yeah, that's a really good guess. I think it might be a little closer to maybe like 50 by 55 inches. It's not super long height-wise. I am 5'1", and it is just about as tall as I am. So, give or take a couple of inches. But it's also made with the V-stitch, so it's definitely just kind of gonna grow and stretch out a little bit as time goes on and it gets used. One note about the pattern, I've gotten so many questions about it through Instagram and YouTube. This is technically my own pattern. I didn't use somebody else's pattern to create this blanket, but because it is so basic, I only used one stitch. So I just repeated the same row over and over and over again until it was as long as I wanted it to be, and then I applied a single crochet border. So it's definitely not like an original piece by any means. But what I'm going to do, if you are interested in making a blanket like this or similar to this, or if you just kind of want to know what I did for future reference, I'm going to get some better pictures of it and then post it as a pattern on my blog. So it will be completely free. You can just go to thegracefultangle.com and be able to find it. Obviously, I will, I haven't written that blog post yet. Like, it's not done or anything like that. So I'll post about it on Instagram, and I might even do like a YouTube video, maybe something, just to kind of get the word out a little bit. But yeah, the point is I'm not going to be making like a personal profit from this pattern because it's just not as original for that, in my opinion. So I still want to provide that resource for anybody who wants it. So yes, so there's a little bit of information about the actual blanket, but I had so much fun working on it. I currently have two, all in a bin behind the camera. I have two blankets, two Scrappy blankets that I am still working on, so I am definitely going to be kind of switching over to those here in the next couple of weeks to try to get them finished as well. I have like still a good amount of worsted weight scraps, which is what I used for that blanket. So I might be starting like another one and kind of being more intentional about working on it as I accumulate the scraps. But we'll see. I am kind of interested in just kind of switching the concept of it just a little bit to try to not have like so many little balls of yarn on hand all the time because it's driving me a little bit crazy. So anyways, that's the thought behind that. But I had so much fun working on that project. It feels good to have it off the hook, of course. But now I am really excited to use it as well. I also just cannot help but be like so stinking excited for, a future seasons of life when I am, on my own, not living in my family's house, but I have a family of my own, and just having blankets like this, homemade blankets kind of draped over the couches, is like so exciting for me. And to be able to, like cuddle up and just tell the stories of what I was working on while, what yarn I used for this blanket, and like what project I made with it first, because all of this yarn was used for something else before it was put into this blanket. So it's just going to be really cool to be able to tell those stories, and I kind of have like a little vision of kind of a not lighter color because, stains, but like a, I don't know, gray couch or something, and have a really colorful blanket like this draped over it just sounds so beautiful to me. So anyways, definitely going to treasure this blanket for a very, very long time. So that is the only finished object that I have to show today that isn't a design or anything like that. And I actually do not have any, I do not have any works in progress this week that aren't designs. So we're just going to completely skip over that segment and jump into some design talk. Alrighty, let's talk about a few designs because I am working on a few new projects and they are super exciting. Actually, one new project, only one that you haven't seen yet, but I have made lots of progress on one, and then I have actually finished the sample of a pair of socks that I am designing. So let's talk about those first. These are the socks that I have been working on for the past few weeks with some yarn that Eden of Crafting Kraken Made sent me. It was such a beautiful gift to receive, and it came at a very appropriate time, college finals, and in the midst of them. So she's always just so thoughtful like that. But I finished this first sample and I am obsessed with them. They are so cute. I love this design so much. It's very simple, but kind of showcases the yarn really well, and it would showcase many different types of yarn. So this is obviously a variegated and a very heavy variegated at that, but this pattern would also look so beautiful in a solid color or speckle. I even think it would be really cute in a striped yarn or self-striping yarn. It would look so good in like a tweed yarn or even a slub. Like, there's just endless possibilities, and I feel like this little stitch pattern would really accommodate for all of those different yarns. But here's kind of a close-up of it. So it has a cable detail on the top of the foot, and then just a stockinette bottom half of the foot and back of the leg, which I really like. I love being able to kind of highlight the yarn in both stockinette form and a pattern form in the same project. Not to mention that if you're working on socks, it is just the best situation when you have a pattern on the top of the foot and then just plain knit stockinette on the back. It's just like the perfect little break in between pattern, paying attention to what you're doing on that first half, but so much fun to work on. And then this was one of her sock sets. So it's the Cherries and Caramel sock set. I don't think I have the tag, and I honestly can't remember if this main color is called Cherries or like Cherries and Caramel as one. I don't completely remember, but this is the main skein, and you get a 100 gram skein of it, and then you also get this coordinating mini, which is called Caramel. So it is like the perfect kind of rustic fall orange. I absolutely love it. I would love like a full skein of it and to design a pair of fall socks with it because it is just so gorgeous. But yeah, so these are going to be coming out early July, which is very exciting. A little over a week from now is my release date plan, but I'm super excited to release them. It was so much fun to design them, and I hope that you guys are excited to create them. And then next up, something that you haven't seen. This pattern is actually going to be coming out this upcoming weekend. I am hosting a Dishcloth Make-A-Long throughout this entire year, and honestly, hopefully in years to come as well. I kind of plan on leaving that Facebook group how it is, but I have some information in the description box on this make-along if you're interested in joining. It is the most simple thing ever. You can join the Facebook group if you'd like and just kind of be in communication with other makers, knitters, crocheters. Make a dishcloth sometime along the process or not at all. Like, it does not matter to me. You can make as many as you want or as few as you want. I've set myself the personal goal of making about one dishcloth a week, or at least kind of averaging that. And that's what some other people have done, but other people have done like one dishcloth a month or a few dishcloths a month and kind of creating a set from those, which I think is a really awesome idea as well. So yeah, all the information is down below. I have a couple of free patterns that I designed and released at the beginning of the year to kind of get you started. But since then, I have made it a goal to release a dishcloth pattern every month, roughly, give or take. And so I'm working on July's pattern right now, and this is going to come out as a PDF download, available on Ravelry and Etsy, and then free on the blog, and as a YouTube tutorial here on the channel. So I like providing, as many ways to create it as possible. And I love this design so much. I'm so excited about it. I've kind of had the idea for a while, and it was just really fun to be able to put the two ideas together to create one pattern. And I'm loving the way that it's turning out. So this was the first sample that I made. This uses the same stitch pattern as I used for the Comfort Pullover, which I released a while ago. And I've been wanting to kind of grow that collection a little bit. And so this is going to be the Comfort Dishcloth, which I really like. So this is my first sample. It uses two different colors of We Crochet Cotton held together. So cotton is a DK weight cotton and linen blend. I actually had some scraps left over from two different projects that I've done in the past, and I wanted to kind of combine all of those colors and make a big dishcloth set, and I think it's going to be so fun. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, so this was the first sample that I did, and then since then, I have gone up a hook size and decreased the stitch count by a few stitches. and I love it so much more. So this is the final product. I have only made one sample right now, but that will definitely be changing very soon as I create, you know, the final pattern and record the tutorial and all of that jazz. But yes, so here's what it looks like. Again, it's marled, but you could totally, and I list this in the pattern and I will say it in the YouTube tutorial as well. This is definitely a pattern that I just want you to be able to have fun with. You know, take the stitch pattern, chain as many stitches as you'd like, make the dishcloth as big as you'd want it to be, use whatever yarn you like, whatever gauge, whatever hook size, like, it's just one of those that you kind of take the base and run with it. And so, you know, obviously I have it laid out in the pattern of like a specific number of stitches to chain and rows to complete, but again, I've also included instructions to completely modify that and kind of go off the rails in the best way. So yeah, very excited about this pattern. It's just going to be really good to kind of have on hand to use as, like, use up scraps or make a really quick set as a gift or a last minute gift addition for somebody. Dishcloths would make such beautiful, like, housewarming gifts. I love the idea of, like, creating a little basket for something like that and having some dishcloths and scrubbies and, like, you know, soaps and then some candy or a treat or something like that. Creating those gifts, like, you know, kind of gift basket idea is my favorite to do. I've done a few for, like, my best friend for Christmas and things like that, and they're just so much fun to put together, but complete a total tangent. Regardless, I'm very excited to release that pattern next weekend, so definitely stay tuned for that. Okay, last project that I am working on is yet another design, and this is a blanket that I'm currently working on. So I'm using, I wish I had thought to grab a new skein of this because this one is almost out, so it looks completely ridiculous. But I'm using Knit Picks Brava Tweed in the colorway Stratus. I love Brava, I love Tweed, I've talked about it so many times before. Although, side note, Knit Picks just launched Brava Stripe, which is like striped Brava, which is obvious. I don't know why I went into more detail about that. But oh my goodness, it's so pretty. I will link it down below, and I'll also link this unit down below if you'd like to try it out. I am itching to get my hands on some Brava Stripe, but we'll have to wait a little bit. But I'm so excited about that. Anyway, so I'm using Brava Tweed. This is the colorway Stratus. It is a really, this blanket's for my brother. I had this issue last week. I don't know if I should call the colorway beautiful or handsome or whatever, but I really like the way that it looks. And I am just loving every single little stitch of this blanket. So here's what it currently looks like. It is getting absolutely massive, and that's making me so excited. So this is going to be kind of my traditional blanket size, 50 by 60 inches. So oh man. So sometimes this yarn will split every now and then, and on this stitch down here, I got like just one strand of the yarn. So I'm going to have to go back down there and fix that. Oh well, I don't want to risk it getting a hole though. So anyways, what was I saying? Anyway, it's getting huge. That's my point. I am averaging about 1 to 2 full repeats a day on this blanket. One repeat is about 8 rows. And we are currently, I'm watching a show, or like a show series right now with my siblings and dad. And we typically watch an episode in the evenings and then sometimes like in the afternoon if the day allows. And each episode is 45 minutes long. So that time, I pretty regularly knit 10 rows during that span on this blanket. So again, a full repeat is 8 rows. I always try to get at least that much done, but sometimes, you know, I have time to do like a couple of extra rows or something. This show can have some like intense parts, and so when those come, I knit so much faster. It is definitely ridiculous, but I'm not complaining because, you know, I would always love to knit faster. So anyways, the point is, it's growing very steadily because I'm working on it every day in such a, like, enjoyable way. And yeah, it's just been so fun to work on it. This is for my brother's 16th birthday. He is turning 16 in July, and he is my younger brother. I have 2 brothers. One of them is 18, just turned 18, and the other obviously is turning 16 very soon. And they're just getting so old and big, and it's crazy to think about. but it's just been very special to work on this project and think about him as I'm doing it and just pray over him and his, future, and all that, turning 16 and the next few years is going to hold for him. And yeah, it's going to be a really special gift. I'm so excited about it. And I will also say, and this is something that I have done for like the last few years, I'm totally working on this like right in front of him. Like I'm sitting on the like futon that we have, working on this project, watching the show, and he is right below me on the floor on a beanbag. And it's just kind of hilarious that, I can work on something and just not really get any questions about it, or not have to answer questions, like, just say that it's a blanket. I don't know, my family is just so used to it. Sometimes it's hilarious, but I did remember to move my marker. So this is how much progress I made since the last time I recorded an episode, which that is at least a foot, probably a little bit more than a foot. So it's definitely getting there. It's probably close to maybe 2.5, 3 feet long now. But yeah, I am just enjoying it so much. Again, it has been so special to work on, and I am loving every single stitch. I am also really loving the texture and just the overall drape of it. I'm using size 8 needles and worsted weight yarn, and I just love it. Like, I kind of tend to use, especially for knitted blankets, I tend to lean towards bulky 5 weight yarn and a size 10 needle. And it's just kind of crazy the difference that this makes. Like, it's so much thinner and a little bit more drapey. So yeah, I'll definitely be making more blankets like this with the same gauge in the future for sure, because I am enjoying it so much. But anyway, that's the last project that I'm working on. Fully enjoying it, and it's also definitely my focus right now. I mean, his birthday is less than a month away now, so I'm definitely kind of hunkering down and trying to finish that. And then I have the next few designs that I'm working on for like future releases in July as well. So all of it is very exciting. It's been a little bit hard to find the time to work on projects recently, with work being busy, and then obviously business stuff and school has been intense the past couple of weeks. So yeah, it's just kind of all a lot. So it's hard to find the time to dedicate many hours a day working on projects. It just doesn't always get done. But having a blanket like that on the go is so nice to just be able to, always have something to lean toward. I have the pattern completely memorized now. It's just really, really beautiful to work on. So anyways, lots of ranting about one little project, but I do have a little devotional that I would love to share with you guys, and then of course a small bit of a life update as well. So let's go ahead and chat about that for a few minutes. So for devotional this week, I wanted to talk about a book that I had been reading this week, and then a couple of verses that have really stood out to me, and I wanted to just encourage you through them. So really quickly, the book that I have just dove in completely into is called Outdated. The subtitle is Found Love That Lasts When Dating Has Changed. The author is Jonathan Pokluda, or JP, and I have listened to many of his sermons at this point, and he is just an incredible man of God, and just how he teaches and preaches to us is amazing. And then specifically in the topic of relationships, he is just a light and shares so much wisdom, and I have learned and grown so much through him and because of him, and what God has done in my heart through the stuff that's not a good way to say it, imitate through the wisdom that he has shared through his sermons. And so I do not have the authority to talk about relationships or dating, because it is something that I am still learning. I have never been on a date. Like, how can I give accurate advice if I have never experienced it myself? But being in a relationship one day is something that I am, of course, very, very hopeful for. Hopefully in, the nearest future. But at the same time, I'm continually learning how to embrace the fact that singleness is also a gift. And so using, obviously, the past 20 years of my life, and then up until God calls me to a different season, just to use this time to glorify him and to learn and grow through him in as many ways as possible. And so this book is one of the ways that I am doing that. And I have not finished it yet, but it has been so incredibly impactful, and I've just learned so much through it. And I honestly fully intend on finishing it and then just starting it right back over very soon after it, because it is just so amazing, and I don't want to forget anything that's in it. I want to be able to use it as a reference going forward. And it has just been so beautiful. I will link it down below on Amazon if you would like to read it, if you are in a similar season as me, or if you are in a relationship and you're just not quite sure if it's the right one, or if you are already married and in a beautiful marriage and have kids who are learning to navigate the season of life with relationships and etc. I do highly recommend this book. And so I will link it down below, and then I'll also link my favorite sermon series that I have listened to by him and a few other pastors. Just if you would like to check out those references, they are listed down below. But one specific chapter in this book talked about outward appearances, and the author listed went into greater depth on 2 specific verses, and that's kind of what I wanted to discuss today. Again, not in terms of relationships, but just you as a person, me as a person, and how we treat other people based on these verses. And so the first one is 1 Samuel 16:7, and it says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." And then the next verse is one that I absolutely love. This entire chapter of the Bible, Proverbs 31, is just absolutely beautiful, and what I have worked hard but also hoped and prayed that is an example of the wife that I can be one day. But it's Proverbs 31:30. It says, "Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." And then, of course, while that is talking about a woman in this passage, that can directly relate to a man as well. You can so easily exchange, woman to man. You can say, "Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a man who fears the Lord is to be praised." And so, so often in today's world and society, we are encouraged to not only care about the way that we look and pay very close attention to our outward appearance, but we're also, even if we don't mean to, we're so quick to judge others based on their outward appearance. And so I just want to encourage you that God does not look at that. He does not judge you based on the way that you look on the outside, but the way that you look on the inside. He cares so much more about your heart and what you put into it as a person in this broken world and what comes out of it than he cares about the way that you look on the outside. And so whether, your physical appearance or somebody else's is something that you struggle with, if you struggle with maybe judgment to somebody else or judgment to yourself, because that is also so harmful, I encourage you to look at your heart. Pay attention to what you are putting into your heart, what you are seeing with your eyes, what you are, how you're spending your time, and how that is influencing what comes out, what your attitude is, what comes out of your heart, because that matters so much more than your outward appearance ever could. But at the same time, a really important note that goes hand in hand with this, and that can often be, at least for me personally, not talked about, is that even though your outward appearance is not what God focuses on, and therefore it shouldn't be what we focus on in other people, whether that be in a relationship or another situation, or what we should focus on ourselves, you are beautiful because you are made in the image of God. And we are called to use our bodies as a temple to glorify and honor him. They're not something that are supposed to be used as a vessel to bring ourselves or the world glory, but they are used to bring him glory. And so, again, whether this is something that you struggle with or not, I know that I have struggled with it in the past, and it's a daily struggle. I mean, those thoughts are still there, right? It's definitely a daily sacrifice to put aside sinful thoughts and to continually devote myself to him and to what he believes. But again, whether it's something that you struggle with or not, I pray that you are encouraged to see what God sees first and foremost, and to put aside the patterns of this world that aren't good, aren't something that God loves, aren't something that glorifies him, and to strive to glorify him in all that we do. So I hope that was an encouragement for you. I could talk so much longer about that subject, but this isn't really the place. I just wish I could get together with a bunch of you and just have a huge conversation about the entire topic. But nonetheless, I hope that little piece, those few minutes were encouraging. Nonetheless, know that God loves you so much. He loves you more than any single person on this earth ever could hope to love you. He loves you so much more, and you are deeply loved by so many people here on earth. I know that for a fact. But but God loves you so, so much more. And so whether a relationship is something that you are hopeful for, or struggling in right now, I pray that you just pray to ask God to give you guidance and wisdom and hope for the days to come. But yes, alongside that, for a little bit of a life update, I kind of talked about last week how last week was kind of a mess. I was dealing with a whole lot, but working hard to practice gratitude through it all. This week was definitely better in the long run, at least school-wise. I will say that I tried to do school this morning, and kind of failed. So that was quite a bummer. Yeah, it is just a struggle, but we are a month? No. Whew, I almost had a panic attack. We were a month and a half away, from graduation, which is absolute bonkers, but I am not rushing that time because I do not need these classes to go any faster than they are going. So, just kind of continually choosing to be in the moment in this season of life because it's going to end before I know it, and I want to learn as much as I can through it so that I can apply what I've learned in future seasons of life for sure. But besides school, because there is more to life than school, it has been a good week, otherwise a good work week, and then obviously a good week for knitting and crochet as well. I'm so grateful I was able to work on a few projects, even though time was definitely limited. Random fact, I got a new water bottle this week, and I love it so much. It brings me lots of joy. I am fully enjoying using it. It is from Target. If you are curious, if you would like to get one for yourself, they had multiple to choose from that are kind of like the same style. And I really like the style. It's so practical. It's easy to just, kind of grab this and go instead of having to hold it on the side. Especially for work, for babysitting, it's very easy to, forget to drink water and be outside for hours and hours on end. So it's nice that it has a handle. Anyway, I could talk much longer about the water bottle, and that would be completely ridiculous, so I'm not going to do that. But it was a fun fact from this week that was very exciting, nonetheless. But yeah, got it from Target. If you're curious, Target is dangerous, for sure. But yes, I hope that you have had such a good week. I hope that you continue to have a good week full of as much making as you can possibly fit in. I hope you are having a great summer so far, and that you are enjoying the outdoors and getting some much needed vitamin D, but that you are also taking care of yourself and staying cool as well, because the heat can definitely be dangerous at times too, at least in the south where I am. It can be very, very, very hot. But thank you so, so much for watching this episode. I would love to hear what you are working on in the comments. If you would love to share, I would love to hear it, of course. And then, of course, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out all of the links down in the description box below. Thank you so, so much for watching, and until next time, happy making. Bye!